I'd like to introduce Loren Levitt. Loren has lived in Mid-Gilpin behind Roy's for over 10 years. She is the co-author of a heartfelt anthology, The Beauty of Authenticity. Please join me in welcoming Loren Levitt to the stage.
Hello. Good evening. Thank you guys for coming. First, I would like to thank the people who actually put this together, because this is incredible. This is just amazing. And I'd also like to thank the other female authors up here tonight, and it's just incredible to be amongst you, and I'm honored. So that's the first part. Now, okay. So it wasn't until I moved up here about 10 years ago that the idea of writing started to come up. Writing. So, and most of the time it was coming from friends of mine, friends that were also writers and authors, my astrologer who was also a writer, and it just kept coming up, and it was like all the time. And I hadn't really heard anything about writing that much like before, so I was like, where's this coming from? And it's not like it's a bad thing, you know, it's not, but I got so defensive. So I think that one of my friends brought it to my attention because I love storytelling. I love the art of storytelling, and her and I would share a lot of stories about living abroad, because we had both lived abroad quite a bit, so we would just share stories, and it was just fun. So when she mentioned writing, I just went, oh, wait a minute, that's different. That's like a box that I don't understand, you know, like storytelling's out here, and fun, and animated, and get to see people and the reaction. And so anyway, so I would get defensive when I heard that, because I just felt like, oh. And I had kind of like this non-conformist son, you know, like, I won't do it, you can't make me do it. And it's because I had a very different idea of what that looked like. So finally, my husband, he said, you know, he started to hear this too from other people and hear it in conversations. And he said, you know, I kind of think you should. I think it's kind of a good idea. So why don't we get you a new computer and you could start writing down some of your ideas. And I was like, not in my own home, you're not. You know, it's just like, blah. And he was like, you know, okay, I think we need to sit down and talk about this a little more. You know, I think you're being a little dramatic. Not shocking, but anyways. So one thing he knew that some other people may or may not have known is that my mother was an author. And she was a romance writer. Some of them were other different types of books, but she published 5 books. And that was quite an accomplishment. And reading her books was amazing. So what's interesting though is her as a person, growing up with her, she wasn't much of a storyteller. She didn't tell you much about her life, because I was always curious, like, what's this? What's the, you know, all this stuff. And so I think I learned more about her from her writing than anything else. And so watching her write, again, kind of like Laura was talking about, and this was in the 80s and early 90s. So this is before the internet, before the Googles, all that stuff. And so she would sit down, write, all the time. And then she would send off these big, huge monster manuscripts. Send it away, and it took forever, and then would come back, and they're all mangled, and things are changed, the titles changed, and, you know, she'd kind of go, oh, God, you know, not again. And, you know, kind of went on, and once she got her first book published, it seemed like it kind of took off from there. But for me, I just thought, well, what if I don't want to write novels? What if I don't want to write romance novels? Or, you know, it felt like it had to be like that, or that was my only choice. And it wasn't really the rejection piece because, J.K. Rowling, was rejected 11 times before someone finally picked it up and look where she is, It was more of, I felt like I was being forced into a lineage, and I don't mind that so much. However, I had to find my own style. So I realized that first, I want to put this out there. This is just a question in your heads, I guess. But so if you go to Barnes & Noble, or if you go to Blue Owl Books, do you have a certain section that you gravitate to? I do. I always have. It's either biographies or was called self-help, and now I think it's called personal growth. So those are the stories I've always been drawn to. I love stories about connectivity, about how I've been lost, or people have been lost, and despair, and things like that, and just abandonment or feeling alone. And because those are some of the things I've experienced. And I feel like if I am speaking or engaging in another person and they feel less alone in the world, then I've done my job, which is probably part of the reason why I decided to become a counselor. But that was a really big piece that kind of inspired me, and it shifted that perspective just a little bit. It didn't have to be this, it didn't have to be that. Oh, those are the kind of things I love writing about. Okay, all right, let's get this new computer thing, and yeah, all right, I'll write down, I'll just start somewhere. So I sat down and started writing about my own life experiences. And I got an email first, and then I got a call, which I believe is divine timing. And so this woman calls, and she said, well, would you like to be part of an anthology that we're doing? And I said, oh, yeah, sure. What's it called? She said, it's called The Beauty of Authenticity. And I was like, wow. That's pretty cool, that's deep, I like that. And she was like, well, do you have any stories that something in your life you've overcome to become more authentic in your own life? And can you be completely vulnerable and raw? I was like, yes, absolutely. And she, on the other, I could hear her. She goes, well, you can think about this. For a few days. I said, no, got it. Check it. I'm ready. Sign me up. And what's funny about that is that's exactly what I was writing about. When I was on the computer, those were the things that I already started to write about. So, anyways, I got to be part of an amazing anthology, and I got to know these women, and they're sharing their most intimate, exposed parts of themselves. And it's just such an incredible experience, and I'm still incredibly humbled. And the truth is, don't we all have a story? Maybe many of them. And we may share them differently, but we all have a voice. And that voice is something someone out there is waiting to hear. Your truth, your authentic expression. One of my favorite quotes is by Marianne Williams. Quote, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is not our light. It is our light, sorry. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people will not feel insecure around you. We're all meant to shine as children do. We were born to manifest the glory that is within us. It is not just in some of us, it is in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give permission to others to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. End of quote. Whatever that passion is that sparks your curiosity, it could be short stories, it could be novels, it could be poetry, it could be blogs, even a memoir. I encourage you to let that light shine. First, listen to it. Not from up here. I have a problem with that sometimes. But from here. Love it. Love it like a child. Don't judge it, just love it. Nurture it with curiosity to allow it to expand, change, develop. And finally, to share it. We need more stories. And we are ready to hear yours. Thank you.